I want to make sure some shit's actually good. And that these are actually on right now. Oh, no. Oh my god, of course not. What the fuck? I affect the screen sometimes.
They be shite.
Do this real quick. There we go.
There we go. Okay, now let me grab me a few things. Nope. Hey, bye. Those good boys we've got, huh? There you go, bud. Grab some shit. Let's go, Zuka, yeah. Ooh's a sweet bird, ooh's a sweet bird. Little Zuka, oh my goodness.
These fucking mass amalgamation of layers on me. There we go.
Well, burr, chilly.
Burr. Oh, that was kind of weak. Boo. 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 Well, time to start zipping up these jackals because, my god.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah?
What? What's up? What's up, buddy? Want one of these? Want a little weed? You want to play on sweet baby boy?
Oh, look at you. Good boy. Oh, well, you just... he just flopped right out of his harness. Oh my god. Goofball. At least I ain't walking you anymore. Alright, did that for today. Had a sweet little buddy go on this fun little walk. Just the sweetest little thing that you got me. Little Zuka, just a sweet boy. What's up, buddy? What's up, Zukov? Oh. A little stretch. Why are we doing this again? You're doing it again. You're doing the whole pawing at me scheme. It's like, come on, bro. You're really doing that right now? You doing your scheme? The scheme for treats and attention? But tomfoolery and shame is what that is. Shameful display. What? What, buddy? Come on up here. What? What is it, my buddy? You paw at me and you stare at me and you wonder, what am I thinking? Because what I'm thinking is what you're thinking. And what is what you're thinking? So I've heard Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard. Yeah, I've heard something about that. That was like a week ago, wasn't it? Ooh, that felt good. What? Bloop. Flop. Gotta flop those little ears. I just think it's crazy. Gaming scene feels like a game of Monopoly. Isn't that just how, like, the fucking, capitalistic fucking interest is? I mean, it's seeped into the gaming industry for fucking quite a while. Yeah, it's pretty much like EA or Microsoft that owns it. When it comes to, like, the majority of the mainstream gaming industry. It's either one or the other, take your pick. It's like, oh, great. Fuck EA. Yeah, fuck EA. I definitely am not going to be disagreeing with you with that at all. I mean, EA is just a bunch of utter goddamn tripe and shit. Unfortunately, I mean, it's disappointing because, I mean, at least for the game developers and shit, it's not even, like, that bad, but, with what they have, to work with when it comes to the actual, like, corporate execs, I mean, man, I did not relish that idea at all. Because they have to basically force into these, like, time frames and these expectations that, if anything, are actually pretty unreasonable given these time frames and constraints and shit. It's just like, yeah, and I wonder why games tend to be pretty shit. Then you have games like Battlefield 5 where it's like it eventually was kind of slowly but surely building itself back up again. And then it just like decided to shank it, but not in the gut, but this time right in its neck. Because people were, you know, at least for that game, people were thinking, oh, they might do an Eastern Front. They might go on the, you know, out in the East with Soviets maybe and stuff like that, which I wanted. And of course, doesn't happen. So it's just, I mean, you do it for Battlefield 1 with the red/white armies, then, you know, for like the Eastern Fronts during the Great Wars. So it's just like they couldn't do it with this. Fucking lame. Serious missed opportunity. Especially when they do the Pacific, but have all these other fronts. I mean, it's just pathetic, honestly, all in all. And even, like, with Vanguard, from what I understand, like, as some of the story mode kind of pops up a little more, and the actual details of it, you know, from the actual story as they're kind of expanding with it, it's just kind of obvious that it's basically more of a fantasy-based type of story that takes place in a historical, like, timeline. So it's like a alt history fantasy timeline. It's like, honestly, if they just advertised it as that, I think people wouldn't be fucking having a hoopla about it. Where things are slightly more advanced in certain aspects. You have, like, this weird, like, satanic / like, German mysticistic fucking, like, Nazi cult or some shit. I mean, you know, it's like they could have made it alright, honestly. But, no, they fucked that up, too. I mean, because it's like, you know, because honestly, I feel like when it comes to, like, especially more historic-based gamers and shit, that, like, kind of World War II games and stuff, I think, like, the big thing that people, you know, want either way from it is either if they're trying to emulate some form of historical, actually do that, or if you are depicting it and not really going to go the historical accuracy route, then at least be front about that. Be like, hey, this is based around this time frame and this type of tech and blah blah blah, but we're not going historical accuracy. You know, like, if they at least put that to the front, probably wouldn't be a big deal. Because be like, oh, it's like a World War II like game. Like, I forgot what it's called, but there's like a D-Day style like game where it's basically like America and Germany have like dinosaurs, unironically. And you have like, and it's like multiplayer maps and shit where you fight, you know, on either side, and you'll have like different dinos at your disposal that you can use. And it's like, what? Not, it's just ridiculous on the surface of it, but it's kind of obvious. It's not meant to, it's like, it's based around World War II, and yeah, there's historical accurate stuff in there, but it's obvious they're not going with that. I mean, they have dinosaurs in the fucking game, like, for fuck's sake, of course not. You know, but it's obvious. I mean, it's advertised as such, too. It's like, and people don't got a problem with them breaking historical accuracy. But it's because they're in front of it. I forget the name of the game, though, unfortunately. I think it's just called Dino D-Day or something like that. But, you know, again, it's a, you know, they advertise it like that. But, you know, when you have a game that might maybe not go so over the top like that, but doesn't really stick to accuracy, and then claims it is, that's gonna make people pissed. It's like, hey, you claim to be historically accurate, but nothing about this is accurate. It's like, yeah. Even the people that aren't like horn dogs about that shit would probably be butthurt. Because I'm not that big of a horn dog about it. Yeah, I remember playing it, actually. I remember playing it on my shitty-ass PC back in the day. It didn't really run well. PS2 game. I think it was on PC too. I'm pretty sure it was also on PC as well, wasn't it? Because I know there was a couple PC Civil War games and shit I remember playing. I think so. I remember playing an old Civil War RTS game as a kid too. Yeah, there was an RTS game that I remember playing. I never really got into it because I think at my age at that time, because if I remember, it looked kind of like a more, like, you know, simplified but at the same time kind of complex version of like Hearts of Iron. I mean, it's, you know, that similar type of, you know, concept. It's an RTS game, but like I remember at least, you know, growing up, I tried playing around with it a little bit, but I never really got into it. It was hard for me as a kid. Yeah, that was the main thing. I think I never really got a lot of the complexities of the game because I was a kid. So, growing up, I just never got into it. Though, honestly, if I got into it now, I'd probably be actually pretty kick-ass at the game. So. Though, at that point, I could just play fucking Victoria 2 and have a mod on it or something. I don't even think you need a mod for that game, actually. Unless for Victoria 2. Or just do a Hearts of Iron 4 version of it. Civil War mod. I guess there would technically be two. Kaiserreich and then like a actual Civil War one. What are you going to put Universalis for? Because the end dates for that game is actually not even that far away from the actual Civil War in America. Because I think the end dates for Europa Universalis 4 is like 1825 or something like that. So it's like, alright, so just kind of like jump it like 40 to 50 years, and then you can basically have this American Civil War in EU4. So it's like, I mean, I think just merely having a few mods to, you know, kind of extend out the timeline of the game would help with it. I recommend HPM for Victoria 2 as it overhauls the AI to not be stupid. But I like stupid AI. It makes it easy to do my conquests. Yeah, I'm kidding. I actually do like complex AI that actually kind of knows what they're doing a little bit. Makes it more challenging. Can't have everything be a walk in the park. Honestly, especially in games like Hearts of Iron 4 and EU4 and shit like that, I actually don't necessarily mind losing sometimes. Because every now and then that actually kind of gives me an ability to kind of do kind of plot and schemes and, you know, I guess, you know, like retaliation wars and shit like that when it comes to things. Like, oh, see, I had some, you know, lost, you know, it's like I lost, you know, some land and territories here, but given enough time, I can easily gain it back after, you know, they get fucked up by that other group over there or some shit, you know, so. Overall, it's actually not really necessarily the biggest deal, depending on how severe it is. But sometimes you can't, like, get, like, an armistice or some shit. Like, sometimes, you know, it's like, hey, this war's been raging on for a few years and nothing's, like, been gained or lost aside from just a bunch of manpower. It's basically just a war of attrition and no one's yielding. It's like, at that point, you know, it's like, there should be an ability to have, like, treaties done or peace agreements where it's like, hey, you know, depending on who's fared better, you know, you can have different, you know, treaties based on that, or on, you know, just no land or territorial gain loss or gains and shit, but just Yeah, there needs to be more options when it comes to that shit. When it comes to like when you're raging wars in the middle of it. We're playing Hearts of Iron Old Blues, which finally updated as Reformer Enclave. Which is basically a fanfiction good guy Enclave playthrough. And find to reform Nevada, so the NCR won't know I'm Enclave because I'll be Nevada as part of the focus tree. Nah. The remnants of basically the military yunkta that is the American government. But good. I mean, Brotherhood of Steel is kind of like that too, but just far more like technologically focused. I mean, the flag they use is pretty much based off the old American flag. I mean, well, I guess the Fallout version of it. I actually kind of wonder, like, what I wonder what makes them, you know, like, downgrade from like 50 plus stars to, what is it, 14? Like, it's the 13 and then there's like a big one in the center. So it's like, what was the downgrade from that star wise? Is like the big one meant to be like Canada and the 13 like the original 13 of the US or something? Like, just seems like a really interesting, like, I guess, reversion back to more, you know, like the traditional US flag. So like the purest president, you. Kind of sounds like the Kaiserreich version with the CSA, where it could either be a router or you know, kind of like more of the libertarian base, like Bill Hayward, like IWW of it. Be more of a purist totalitarian or be more of a reformer libertarian type. Take a pick. I'm going to say the Fallout flag is stars represent one of the 13 Commonwealths, which is higher than states. Oh, so there's like a element of government reform that's happened. So now there's like full-on Commonwealths, which okay. That actually makes some more sense. That makes it more understandable then. Because there's Canada too, which they have provinces and slash like Commonwealths and shit like that, so. Sometime in the following universe, the government informed on how it worked to ease administration stresses. Again, honestly, why do I feel like a lot of our current timeline is tangentially emulative to the Fallout timeline in the Fallout universe? I mean, obviously, it's not going to be the exact same and shit, but still, it's like a lot of it tends to legit be kind of similar. It's like, huh. Also, I've always wondered what becomes of like Russia and like all these other fucking places and shit. Because by the time the Fallout universe is going on and shit, and by the time that like comes to fruition, it's mainly the U.S. and China. So it's just like, what happens with everything else? It's like Soviet Union still a thing? Did it collapse? Russia stays Soviet Union. Okay, so the USSR exists still. I kind of assumed that it'd probably still be like the Soviet Union and shit. So the Warsaw Pact probably still exists, so Germany is still probably divided between East and West. Honestly, there needs to be a Fallout game based in Europe or something. But isn't openly hostile to America at least as much as China is. Well, probably because, you know, if you think about our timeline, like, by the time the Soviet Union was starting to collapse, we kind of started to have a little bit better relations outside of Reagan. Like, he was the last hoopla to, like, saber rattle with him and shit, but didn't, you know, but, I mean, it never really, like, did much. But, you know, so it's just like, well, I guess it did more domestically, more so than anything, but, you know, globally, it was just kind of a joke. Because Reagan is a joke. But, I mean, because he, like, the whole Star Wars program, for example, it's like, yeah, like, that's gonna, you know, totally be a honest gesture, you know, to people at times. Like, yeah, we're gonna have, like, weapons in space, which I guess is not far off from reality anyway, but it's like, yeah. At that time, you kind of be laughed out of the room a little bit. It's like, we can't even do that right now. Huh, we have ICBMs for that. We don't need to launch a missile to have a missile in space. When we can have one missile, just do it all. More cost effective. But, yeah, I mean, honestly, it's like, I mean, considering our timeline, like, the hostilities between the two different, you know, countries, USSR and US, probably wouldn't really have stuck around forever. Like, if anything, they probably would have been a little bit more neutral, you know, by that point. Because America just, you know, I guess, you know, during the Fallen Universe, probably just saw China as a far more greater threat. Which I guess in this current timeline is the opposite. Well, not really. I mean, I guess the U.S. government does see both Russia and China as threats, but probably Russia more so right now. All I know about Europe is the European Commonwealth, Fallout EU, disbanded to openly hostile to each other countries fighting over the last drops of oil. Damn. So instability and fracturing basically just collapsed the European Commonwealth, and honestly, if anything, the Soviet Union probably didn't have hostilities with America because they took advantage of that. They probably helped, you know, put in some of their own, you know, like, you know, like little republics or like their own little puppets and shit, you know, to try to establish their own forms of power as that was going on. There should still be a fucking video game based around, or at least a Fallout game based on that shit. You know, like, kind of like, you know, well, what happened in Berlin, or, you know, fucking like London or Paris or some shit. Just kind of get an idea about, like, you know, how they fared in the Fallout universe. And kind of like what weird, like, Fallout creatures and shit, you know, could be living over there. I'm sure there would probably be a lot of similarities, like Deathclaws and, you know, Yaoguais, like irradiated bears and shit would probably still exist. They might have different names, though. Because I'm sure the term Yaoguai for, you know, like in the Americas and shit probably doesn't spread over to Europe. So they're probably going to have a different name for it, I'd imagine, but nonetheless, it'd still be the same. I mean, I guess for simplicity's sake in the game, they'd probably still be called Yaoguais, but, you know, overall, lore-wise, they probably wouldn't be called that over there. Probably be called something different. Like Skinbaron or something like that. Like, what would be Skinbear in German? Because, yeah, I'm gonna actually do that. I'm gonna go on Translate real quick. I want to see. Because if it sounds cool, then Skinbear might honestly be like a freaky name for it. Translate. Yep. Wish to Jamal. Haltbar. Can I hear it? It won't let me hear it. Oh, alright, whatever. Haltbader. It doesn't sound as freaky as I thought. Well, it kind of does a little bit. So Jaguars are called Haltbader. Beware when you go into the dark forests. The Haltbaders are out. They patrol at dawn, just before the sunrise. God damn. Like I recommended something that's 5 minutes old. It just got uploaded. This song reacts to millennials adopting socialism. Oh shit. Fucking goddamn millennials, those dirty commies. Those dirty goddamn commies. Those sons of bitches. This is 5 minutes old, I might as well check it out.
Who was a 2016 presidential candidate for the Socialist Party USA. All right, Mimi, I just want to go slowly here.
Oh, it's another interview?
It confuses me a little bit. Has socialism worked anywhere it's been tried?
I think what we're working toward is something that we've yet to see. Socialism, at its core,
did they try
means
socialism?
Worker ownership and control over production.
All right.
So I think it's important that you understand what it means, and that your viewers understand what it means.
Okay.
So we're.
Bro, I feel like I'm looking at myself in like 10 years. Like I feel like my
dude, the song's mic's upgraded.
My style has not changed. Okay. I have like white beard hairs now, and this is what I look like. I just turn into jank, but I dress the exact same way. You know what I mean?
Capable of progress.
Okay.
You know?
So did they try socialism in Venezuela?
Fucking owned, baby!
Oh shit, dude. The fucking Fox News host just owned his ass, bro. It's like, oh, well, you know, it's like, you all say it hasn't been truly tried. It's like, well, I must say, did they try it in Venezuela? Checkmate. Owned. What are you gonna do?
Waters, get fucked. Get fucked, loser. Get fucked, nerd. Venezuela. Have you heard of it?
Venezuela, bro. Boom. Wrecked.
Have you heard about
the Sarbomba of checkmates for the libs? Have you heard of Venezuela?
I expected you to bring up Venezuela. It's such a weak talking point. You're talking to somebody who lives in a city that's got over 50,000 homeless people.
He passed away in 2020 from cancer? Wait, really? Oh, that sucks, dude.
So this diversion over to Venezuela...
Oh, no, I'm just asking where his socialism worked. Has it worked in Cuba? Okay. Has it worked in the
let's look at
Soviet
Cuba's
Union?
literacy rate. Sure, let me respond. Let's look at Cuba's...
Okay, Venezuela is easy as fuck. It's like Venezuela wanted to have autonomy over their own natural resources, and the government, the foreign governments did not want that to happen, okay? That's it.
Which is very typical for a lot of these minor nations and shit, like, you know, Venezuela, because Iran had the same problem back in fucking 50s and 60s and shit. Because the UK and the US are like, hey, y'all want to nationalize and have total autonomy of your own resources like oil and shit? Nah, fam, how about not? How about we just take control and, you know, kind of take the reins of those type of things there, buddy.
To do anything with respect to, I mean, they tried to coup him. They didn't want him to, be able to diversify the agricultural production within the country. Their over-reliance on oil ultimately end up cucking them. They're completely excised from participating in the global economy and the global marketplace. But more importantly than that, Venezuela's like privatization rate, okay, their private marketplace is still higher. They represent a higher percentage of the economy than fucking France. So saying that Venezuela is actually like a socialist nation state that failed is idiotic. if anything, they were, you know, turning into a social democracy. They were socializing. They were nationalizing the extraction industries and whatnot, like Norway already has. And the only reason why it was an abject fucking failure is because of the foreign intervention that rendered it impossible.
Mainly by the United States.
And that's deliberate. Because
Hey.
they want the oil. We want the oil. We want to use it ourselves. Anyway.
This literacy rate, let's look at their health care. You know, let's look at countries that have universal health care and how they rank against the United States healthcare
Well, I mean,
system.
they have
They far outrank in terms of
socialist
quality of
health
care.
care
You
in
know
Canada,
this.
and a lot of the rich Canadians come to America to get.
Oh, you say socialist healthcare is, you know, better than other countries? I give you Canada. Checkmate again, lib. I love how like this guy's going over the same talking points
Last
that.
time the world...
Let's just move on.
You
I don't want to
need
get.
move on because you're
Okay.
wrong.
Okay, that's your opinion.
And you don't even care that you're wrong, which is bizarre.
No, I don't believe I'm wrong, but that's fine. We can move on. I just
I
don't.
love that. A lot of people are coming from Canada to America to get surgery. Like, okay, again.
And also, they're rich fucks, so they're also like when it comes to that, like if you have a bunch of rich fucks that come to America, yeah, like when it comes to the quality of healthcare when you're rich, like yeah, you can afford the best doctors that could be in the United States. So yeah, like you're gonna spend, you know, the extra spendable income to go get, you know, surgeries or treatments, you know, because of that. But at the same time, plenty of people go to Canada, you know, from America to have healthcare because it's a lot cheaper over there too.
That's not how fucking healthcare works. The only thing that America is actually good at, okay, the only thing that America is actually good at is like certain kinds of cancer treatments, okay? They have cutting edge research here. We do spend a lot of money on it. And you quite literally said, rich Canadians come here, okay? So what the fuck is wrong with you, dumbass? You should have lied a little bit better and said, oh, Canadians are coming here, okay? Instead of saying rich Canadians still come to the United States of America. The entire purpose is like, motherfuckers are able to get healthcare there. We're not rationing healthcare off of how much money you have. That's so stupid. Why would you just like openly fucking give up your take there? You should have never specified that it's rich people. Okay?
I mean, it's just a self-report.
Healthcare for all means all. It's significantly more important than, you know, being able to give like 3 people the adequate care so that like so many poor people are gonna fucking suffer still as a consequence of that.
Don't want to get bogged down on other countries. Let's focus on America here. You want
Let's do that.
socialism to replace capitalism here in America?
Of course I do. I mean,
Of
say
course.
I'm a socialist, that I don't want to see an end to oppression and exploitation. Of course I want to
Oh my
see
god, I keep getting goddamn
How-
recommendations.
I pay about 50% in taxes to the government. How high would you like to see my taxes raised to?
We would support a steeply graduated progressive income tax.
How
As
much?
it stands right now, the U.S.
Maybe.
has...
I mean, let's just take me for an
Can you
example.
stop
What do you?
interrupting me for a second?
No, I'm trying to move the conversation forward. I want to get.
It's just like, hey, you know, I want to ask you a question about this, but, you know, it's like, my taxes are hypothetically this amount, which I honestly doubt that his is 50%, but it's just like, hey, you know, they're about this much, would you want to see higher? And it's just like, well, here, let me explain, you know, my answer and to your question here, blah, blah, and it's like, not even like a quarter of the way into answering his question, and it's like, well, let's move on to something else now, and it's like, maybe you don't want this guy, you know, giving cohesive answers. You want someone who's vague and kind of a schlub that can easily just be poked fun at and just kind of be made a fool, kind of like the anti-work redditor that showed up the other day on, you know, Fox News and shit.
To see
Well,
me
you know,
pay
okay,
taxes.
let's say this. I don't know how much you earn, but let's just say hypothetically it's $1 million, right? Let's say you were taxed at...
Okay, the best way to answer that is this. You get paid 50%, right? I mean, you pay 50% of your yearly income, right?
Shit.
And that's a lot of money. You're giving a lot of money to the government. A big percentage of your yearly earnings, the amount of money that you make, goes back to the government. That's crazy. That's a lot of money. No one is ever going to fucking say that that's not a lot of money, okay? You can get mad all you want, but you, chatters, are also paying around 50%, maybe a little bit less than that, right?
It's gonna make it funny,
So,
beat me to it.
ultimately, that is a big chunk of the money. But the reality is, the richer you go, the richer you get, the less of the percentage you fucking have to pay to the government. So hey, I think it's only fair for people that are wealthier than you to also pay 50% of their fucking yearly income, okay? 50% of the yearly earnings. That would open up a whole new universe, okay? But Jesse will never advocate for that, because the reason why he can have a fucking fat salary, which puts him in the highest income bracket, okay? Because he fucking advocates for those people that are wealthier than he is.
And by just sitting on his ass, doing it, and making a lot of fucking bank while doing so. I mean, that's why it's so easy for these type of people to, grift these type of positions as well. Because it's honestly really easy for them to buy into it and believe it themselves, because, like, well, I'm definitely welfare off, and I don't want to tear any taxes by buck, because I want my money. I want to keep it, me, and all this shit. So it just, like, really even forces in, like, fuels and builds that, up in, these, people's minds when it comes to their fucking wealth and expendable income and shit. Especially when they get to, sit on their ass on Fox like this and shit. Like Jesse Waters. And it's just like, yeah. Like, I wonder why, they're able to, like, just casually, especially in a very mocking, condescending tone, just, like, grift these stupid fucking ideas out. And so easily, and, buy into it and believe it, because, I mean, yeah, he's a part of that fucking club. He's a part of that, whole system and influence that, fares better from these type of tax cuts and from having little taxes and being basically a Weasley little parasite when it comes to, actually giving his fair share to the overall society when it comes to the taxes in the country. It's like,
Didn't even counterpoint? Yeah, because I have no interest in fucking taxing him even harder than that. Ultimately, if you want to fucking if you want to bring in new funds, okay, the real way to do it, and I say this all the time, I don't give a shit if it's even higher than fucking 50%, okay? The top marginal tax rate can be higher. That's fine. But ultimately, the real wealth is hidden in the stock market, not in the fucking
penny for the
income.
1950s, let's get taxes of the 50s.
The higher...
yeah, they wouldn't necessarily like the taxes that came out of the 1950s.
For the highest earners, you're not actually fucking hitting the fucking money managers. You're not hitting the real wealth, okay? The people who buy, borrow, die. You're only fucking taxing doctors. You're only taxing actors. You're taxing athletes. You're taxing Twitch streamers. You're taxing YouTubers. You're taxing people that do not have the capacity to be able to shelter, like hide their income in the form of assets or hide their income in the stock market, which I don't even mind paying more in taxes, for the record, as I've said many, many times over, okay? But income taxes alone are not the way to fucking, fill up the coffers of the government.
Yeah,
That's
definitely
the
not.
reality.
Especially with how rich fucks fucking handle, like he's explained, when you can just hide it all in assets. More. Oh, here we go.
So many
70%
are struggling. Just let me finish. This is why you're having a problem right now. This smug smarminess in the face of suffering.
See, you're always gonna lose that combo. See, he said 70%. I don't have a problem with that, especially the top marginal tax rate. Okay? But even then, it doesn't matter. Dude, what the fuck do you mean? What's stopping Twitch streamers from investing in the market? Dude, investing in the market doesn't mean anything if your primary fucking form of compensation is not coming from the market, and it's not coming from the assets that you own. It's actually coming from Twitch streaming. So if you make, $200,000 from Twitch streaming, you can't like magically put that in the market, okay?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't work that way. You're still getting taxed on that, and then whatever you're not getting taxed on, then you're putting that in the market, okay? So now, the profits, as long as you don't take that money out of the market, the profits that keep, keep growing and growing and growing in the stock market, sure, those are now not going to be taxed unless you fucking get it. But if you're filling a fucking 1099, investing your earnings does not change the reality that your earnings are still your earnings and you're still paying for it and that's entirely different than basically having being in charge of a business or being a CEO or having all of your assets already exist and making money in the stock market.
I mean, also, isn't it just like a basically more direct source of the income? So
Do you
it's
understand?
it's kind of harder to put that in assets, you know, as it is your direct earnings and shit, because they're still your earnings.
Make money can get away with sitting on that money for many, many years and never really using it. But then those are their assets that they can borrow against, okay? Whereas people who make money off of another company paying them, right? Like Amazon pays me and I fill a fucking 1099.
7 months of brain
A newsman pays 50% tax and gets nothing back and gets smug about it.
I did like how Jesse Juarez gets like smug about being like, oh, these taxes, how dare you say I need to be paying more on this? This is what socialism wants. They just want young people like me to be poor and schlubby
net worth
and lazy
and their yearly
and struggling
is completely
and on welfare, God forbid.
The real
Oh.
wealth is in the stock market. The real wealth, the real actual fucking wealth that we're talking about is people who exclusively make money off of a fucking line going up or a line going down. Okay? There is so much wealth hidden in the stock market in the form of non-liquid assets that we just simply do not tax at all. It's just money going back and forth. And the way to get around getting taxed on
Money
that
make
line
money.
going up is by basically
Let's sit on
just borrowing
tax and it
against
makes
because
money.
you have
Yeah.
an unlimited
Money
amount of,
make
of
money.
non-liquid assets in the stock market that you can fucking point to say, hey, give me money. I have a lot of money that I'm making off the money that I already have, but I don't want to take it out right now. So can you please, banks, give me some money? And then the bank is like, that's great. You're very wealthy and you trade with us and we love you. Here you go. Incredibly low interest rate.
Very low
loan
interest
for you,
rate
sir.
loan here. Here you go. You're a very profitable, good gents. Yes. A very honest
Also,
working
tax on
individual.
assets when you're retired,
Quite.
you no longer have to face a progressively higher tax as it would with direct money when you are getting a
I mean,
salary.
also, that type of shit needs to be kind of the exact opposite. It's like, you know, if you got like some working class schmo that, you know, wants to get a loan to, you know, maybe like buy a house or something like that, like, when it comes to interest on things like that, it should be like ridiculously low. And then when it comes to like rich fucks, like their interest rates should be high. Like, it should be marginal based on really overall, like, you know, on your income, or at least, you know, how much, you know, like, your overall, like, standard of living is in general. Like, I mean, when it comes to those type of variables. Because, like, if you got someone in sport and shit, they're just gonna get, you know, all these higher end interest rates because, like, oh, they wanted to pay it back, so let's make sure that we get money and dues worth from it. So we'll put a higher interest rate on them. Yes. It's a big club and you ain't in it. Yep.
And how wealth works, if people don't get it, I
Alright.
have
Whoa! There we go. Just want to skip more into the actual video itself.
taking your fucking income and then moving it into the stock market. You can't do that because that
Oh my
income is
God,
being taxed regardless when it comes in, unless you are quite literally doing tax evasion. Okay? Do you guys not understand this? When Amazon pays me at the end of the year or quarterly, I pay the government back a percentage of that. Okay? Unless you're Ludwig, in which case you're just doing
Trying to
tax
find
evasion.
where, I guess somewhere around here.
There is a little bit of miscommunication with like the Ukrainian leadership is saying.
Oh my
where they're
fucking
like,
god.
calm down.
Dude, he gets stone locked by his chest so
Venezuela
much.
and in the countries that have socialist policies, there's more suffering. In China, in Cuba, in Venezuela, and the Soviet Union, that system didn't work. And it wasn't the...
Nobody wants war. That's why NATO is acting as a deterrent. Dude,
Oh, Jesus Christ. And I like how the Jesse Juarez is saying, it's like, oh, you know, these other countries, they have more... It's like, have you looked at the backyard? Well, of course he hasn't, because he lives in a very privileged, well-off, fucking, like, gated community that probably is not even remotely close to any of the actual fucking ills and suffering that are going on because of capitalism in this country. So it's like, like, it, you know, it's really odd for him to be like, oh, yeah, but look at all the suffering here, but... Yeah, I'm just gonna be kind of blind to it in my own backyard. In fact, my backyard is, you know, quite nice. It has like a nice little state park, yeah. Yes. It's like, oh my god, gross.
Come on, bro. Ridiculous take. All immediately.
Vid.
Like you
Vid.
defensive stance.
Oh my god.
We are all in agreement
This
on-
ADHD son of a bitch.
And it's not those countries that feed the world and protect the world. It's the United States of America, and we have capitalism.
No.
Wars is World War II. NATO has 100% worked. If NATO didn't exist, we would have had World War III by now. No, dumbass. It wasn't NATO.
Oh,
It was
sweet Jesus
mutual
fucking
tax
Christ.
czars. We got the
Sweet Jesus Christ. Not gonna lie, why do some of these motherfuckers upload these little clips when half of them is just stun locks? When like 90% of it is goddamn stun lock on like another topic. It's like, if I wanted to like just doom about the fucking Ukraine shit, I'd just be looking at that right now. I wanted to, oh my god. I find it amusing that like Jesse Waters especially will try to bring on these lefty types, and for some reason, I don't know why, you know, a lot of them, you know, accept it, but it's just like, I mean, that guy honestly was faring it better because he was actually trying to be like, hey, yo, I'm trying to be cohesive with my thoughts, but you're not letting me explain. I should, you know, you're kind of having a very smug, like, you don't actually want to, like, you know, have a talk here with it. The other dude was just like a dork and a fucking schlubby. And then you got this guy who at least, you know, was being like a little bit more on point. I mean, honestly, the problem with him is like he really legit couldn't get his fucking points across, because Jesse was just a lot more smug with it, because he was expecting, you know, the cannon fodder when he didn't. That's why he had to cut him off so much, because he just wanted cannon fodder. They didn't want someone that had a, did I say a brain? That's like sweet Jesus. I think it gets stonewalled by his fucking like chattel Ukraine shit, just because people kind of think he has a hot take about it. I know fucking Vosh has like a lot more of a war hawkish mentality about this, like full up, where he thinks like Kyle's and his on-stakes are just like utter shite, and it's like, no, we need to actually be like involved, my dude. It's like, yeah, are you gonna go on the front line then, bud? You gonna join the draft? Sure shit, no you ain't. That's really pisses me off about a lot of war hawks, or a lot of war bloggers, is that, oh, they'll talk about how we should go do it, but they'll never be the ones to fucking actually enlist to go actually fight it. Never. They might have a few, you know, black sheeps, you know, as little like sacrificial lambs, essentially, occasionally, to have like, you know, the rich military family, you know, having one of the distinguished sons going off to the service or whatever the fuck. Not like that kid's gonna ever be in harm's fucking way, though. Get medals just for, you know, just being in the military academy, just sitting around jerking off. I'm gonna recommend another thing that's like 15 minutes old, Jesus. The Freedom Convoy is melting brains. What the fuck is, oh my, what, now what? Oh my god, now what? What is the right doing now? What are they doing this time? Why is it like every day there's something new now? What the fuck? Like last week it was M&M's. Oh my god, I still can't believe that was the thing. And then it was like Minnie Mouse, apparently. It's not even like Minnie Mouse in America, it's Minnie Mouse in fucking France. Or some shit. And now it's a freedom call? Oh my god, what the fuck is, like, what is going on? What is? I don't even want to know. What is this?
Job, get vaccinated.
And I advocate civil war.
What initiative?
What? Whoa! What? Whoa! Okay, wow. We just like went from like 2 to like 1,000. Oh, Jesus.
Tiny fraction.
Yeah, like you're gonna fucking go out there with your goddamn double barrel 12 gauge, you old fucking geezer. Give me a break.
Opposing
Oh
their
my.
vaccine mandate has now become a far-right, anti-vax extremist movement. Now,
You mean Duff Cult?
this, of course, is all about the Freedom Convoy. The Freedom Convoy, which is supposed to be a convoy of truckers, is actually mostly a convoy of cars, as I'll get to, pretending to stand up for the rights of truckers on their way to Canada's capital, and they're fooling some well-meaning individuals in the process. Now, I'm going to break down in this video the crap that has been spewed by this movement, the claims they have made, some of the claims they have made, and also get into some clips and showing you what is actually going on here and some of the organizers behind this and their motivations. But first here, this claim. Let's just start with the basics. Organizers claimed you'd have around 50,000 truckers in Canada. 50,000 truckers on their way to Ottawa opposing these vaccine mandates against truckers, even though, as I'll get to, 90% of truckers, an estimated 90%, are already vaccinated. They're working, driving on the roads, have nothing to do with this, and they're also pissed off that they have now been lumped into this gigantic group of lunatics.
I would imagine so. When you just got average blue-collar working-class people that just want to just get a fucking job done and just want to, like, get home safe at the end of the day, especially when they're trucking, like, long fucking hours. Like, yeah, I imagine, like, being lumped with some weird, like, you know, do-nothing, lazy-ass fucking a bunch of far-right freakazoid dipshits who are all just like, oh my god, Matthew bit. It's like, yeah, Yeah, I'd probably be pissed too, because, like, I'm just trying to do my goddamn job, and I'm being lumped in with these fucks, these death cultists, like, fuck that.
Also, on Fox News, you had Theo Fleury, former NHLer, also claimed 50,000 people. Here's that clip.
Right now, there's 50,000 truckers and about 1.4 million people headed to the Parliament in Ottawa, and they're going to stay there until Trudeau resigns or they give us back all of our freedoms and rights.
Oh my god.
All right, so before I get to debunking the number here, which is just incredibly inflated, you have no idea how inflated this number is. Just let me address the last part of what he said there. What freedoms have been taken from you? Most places are open. Most provinces right now are opening up. Even though there's a serious issue with Omicron, they're still opening up.
Yeah, and, like, honestly, it ain't just Canada that's having this issue too, but, like, there's a lot of fucking places that are opening back up and shit, and yet this pandemic is not even close to being over yet and shit, and it's still a big fuck problem right now. And yeah, it's just like, yeah, let's just open up the economy again, it's all good, you know, I'm just like, you know, you got your freedoms, you've got your freedoms.
Have been taken away from you. It's completely absurd. This entire idea that things have been shut down, our freedoms have been stripped away. What are you talking about? You're on your way, driving across the country to show up at the Capitol. Nobody's stopping you. You have that freedom. Stopping along at, restaurants along the way, you're able to go do that. But what freedom, what is restricting you right now?
Nothing.
So, and we'll get to the vaccine mandate and the truckers, but in terms of just general freedoms, you're perfectly free to do whatever the hell you want. Nothing has changed on that front. Now, let's get to the number here. So, 50,000 truckers, right? 50,000 truckers, 1.4 million people. Wow. 1.4 million
What a
people,
big
50,000
claim.
truckers. Let's see how close that number is. So David Atkin here, reporter, says following from several police sources, and I'll get to one of those sources in a second here, 8 separate convoy captains, core organizers, 230 tractors / tractor trailers, and 725 personal vehicles from Toronto and Western Canada.
Wow.
200 vehicles out of New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, possibly 2,000 pedestrians from Quebec, unknown number of other actors. 230 tractor trailers.
Wow.
I was promised 50,000.
Where's the
We
50,000?
are nowhere near. We are nowhere near.
Not even near 10,000, bitch. Boo.
This is such a tiny, tiny fringe of people, including a tiny, tiny, tiny fringe of truckers.
Nah, that be a bunch of bullshit, brother. I tell you what's actually going on is there's a silent majority. Silent majority that's out there just, too scared to tell the truth out there, brother. I tell you what, that's right. I tell you what, goddamn, that's how it is, brother. That's how it is, brother.
Into this massive movement.
like-
Oh my God, gotta support the truckers, even though
Silent
90%
majority
of them
right
are
here.
vaccinated. As I'll show you, there are some that are pretty pissed off about this.
It's like, oh my
movement.
God.
But no, 50,000 truckers, 1.4 million people. Not even close. Now,
Doesn't even hit 5K.
Kingston Police here, so this is one of the sources. Their counts, they saw 17 full tractor trailers, 104 tractors with no trailers, 424 passenger vehicles, 6 RVs. Again, nowhere near the numbers that were claimed by the organizers. And taking a look, you can do your own research here. You can look up videos, look up images. The vast majority, this is from, just to be clear, also Kingston Police, posting this image here. They're pickup trucks. There's like, does that count as a transport truck, or is that just like a U-Haul down there? Like,
What's going
the
on?
majority here, they're just pickup trucks. They're just people, regular people, not truckers, have joined this.
Oh my God, yeah,
So-
it looks like there is straight up like a little U-Haul or... No, actually it's a truck that has like one of those like little cabin things that you can put on the flatbed of your truck and shit. It's one of those things, basically.
Ridiculous. Now, also, the Canadian Trucking Alliance is against this convoy. This is the
Shit,
organization
wow.
that stands up, is the voice of truckers in Canada. They're against this. So they say here the vast majority of the Canadian...
I'm guessing this is kind of like the equivalent of, like a truckers union over there.
Trucking industry is vaccinated, with the overall industry vaccination rate among truck drivers closely mirroring that of general public, which is around 90%. Accordingly, most of our nation's hard-working truck drivers are continuing to move cross-border and domestic freight to ensure our economy continues to function. The Canadian Trucking Alliance does not support and strongly disapproves of any protests on public roadways, highways, and bridges.
Shit.
They are against this because, you know why? The vast majority of their members are against it. If that
No
wasn't
shit.
the case, I imagine this would be a very different statement. But the vast majority of their members are against it.
Because it's overall very fucking dumb and stupid, and it's just like, oh my God, the goddamn vaccines and these mandates stealing the freedoms away and tyranny and fascism and shit, but it's just a bunch of nonsense. And most people realize this shit, especially when, they're just out there doing their fucking job and realizing that the lockdowns and the fucking pandemic does some more to, quote unquote, take your freedoms away and shit versus, fucking goddamn vaccine.
Do a couple of clips here. This is just going on a continuation of what I've been discussing.
This is really hard to put a number on, but I will say this. There have been claims that there will be 50,000 big rigs, and that's just not viable.
And there's frustration from truckers not in the protest.
I have had drivers call me repeatedly today saying that they're frustrated that they can't go about doing their job because the minority's ruling the day on the road.
He says roughly 90% of the trucking industry is fully vaccinated.
This has been hijacked by some people that are not directly related to the trucking industry, and I'd rather say to them, go have your own party and your own protest, and let us go about doing our jobs.
The Canadian Trucking Alliance says the vast majority of its members are vaccinated.
Well, we need to be vaccinated. You want to bring it back and forth over the borders? Yeah, you want a job? Get vaccinated.
Yeah. Like, that guy looked like a very, middle-aged, hard-working Joe Schmo motherfucker, and it's like, yeah, you want a job, you want to fucking, be spreading this shit back and forth, then, get vaccinated, you big fucking ababaloo, you little schmuck fuck. Oh. I like this fucking, cadence a bit. He had, a little bit of, this gangster style cadence, like, hey, what the fuck are you gonna do? You're gonna, keep doing, bringing it back and forth? Oh, what the fuck you think you are? Get vaccinated if you want your damn job, eh? Oh.
And has joined the protest.
Alright, so before I go on and discuss how this movement has been hijacked, I have to mention there that one clip with the trucker that is saying, get vaccinated, nothing's wrong with these mandates. That clip has now gone viral. And it's gone viral because
he's
it's
right.
Incredibly rare. It has been incredibly rare for the media to actually talk with any trucker outside of this movement. So the way it has appeared to a lot of Canadians that have been taking this in is, oh, truckers, I'm on the side of truckers. I'm fighting for the truckers because the truckers are against this. But they're not. They're perfectly fine with the mandates. If the media did their job properly, just talk to more of those sorts of truckers who represent 90% of truckers, then you would have a better idea of what this debate is about and who's on what side. Which also goes to showing you the big issue there with that media piece, that last clip from CTV News, because they treat this as an equal debate. They have one trucker who is perfectly fine with the vaccine mandate and one who is in the convoy.
And there's no equal sides to this, especially when the majority of these fucking people are vaccinated or in favor of that shit. There's just no equal debate about that. Like, especially when you have 90%, that's a fucking consensus. That's not a debate.
Are vaccinated, are fine with the mandates, then why are you doing just one person for each side? You are misrepresenting what this fight is actually about. You should be talking
for every one of these, like, bro, like, or I guess anti-vax fucking dipshits that are protesting, there should be at least 9 people on the opposite side for the quote-unquote fair representation.
Truckers who are representing the vast majority of truckers that are fine with these vaccine mandates, and talk to that one who's in the convoy. That would actually give you an idea of what of who's on what side here, and if you're actually fighting for truckers or not. Because if you're on the side of the one guy against 9, I got some news for you. You're not fighting for truckers. You're actually against truckers.
Yeah.
Which gets to what this whole thing is about. So, this clip here, now to be clear, before I even get to the clip, there are people that have been taken in by this, that honestly think that they are standing up for freedom, standing up for these truckers, standing up for the rights of workers, and you've been fooled. It happens.
People are the exact opposite of standing up for workers' rights. Just saying.
The media, the way they've covered this, blame whoever you want, but you have been fooled. You are not on the side of truckers. You are on the side of a far right-wing extremist movement. And now if that's you, if that represents your views, well,
cult,
then I guess you are on the right side for yourself.
And or deaf cult.
That's the reality. Here's an example. Here is one of the guys, part of this this convoy, and he is very clear about how he feels.
Feelings towards vaccine mandates have heightened.
I advocate civil war. If people don't want to stand up, we've got guns, we'll stand up and we'll bring them out.
Oh my god, his fucking face. Oh my god, well that's an oof. It's like, yeah, like what, you got your old fucking like double barrel like fucking 20 gauge that you got, you know, from your old grandpa from back in like 1890, whatever the fuck. Like, give me a break. Like, I mean, yeah, like, you're gonna be doing shit, Grandpa. Like, you're not gonna be able to hunch down to get, like, you know, good, proper fucking aim, you know, shooting position, old geezer. Like, you ain't gonna be doing shit. By the time you're fucking getting, like, the hammer cocked back on your fucking old geezer double barrel, I'm fucking, like, laying down, like, 10 rounds, bro. Like, shut up. It's like, I can't just think as don't damn half-ass capable doing left in my life. I still can kind of shoot things a little bit, so that's the only thing I'm worth the fuck. So goddamn it, this is what I want. At least I go out doing something I can kind of do. I got nothing better to lose, so I'm just a fucking lunatic geezer that wants Civil War now. Even though I basically last 2 seconds. It's like, yeah, sure, buddy. I mean, honestly, that's like what's, you know, so many of these dipshits that advocate for these fucking ideas, you know, are and shit. They're just like schlubby fucks that legit, like, in any other circumstance wouldn't be able to, like, you know, put up any fucking fight at all. Which is why they need the gun in order to fucking, you know, actually have the power and the, you know, ability to exert their fucking influence and shit. Because if they didn't have it, then, you know, then they basically are just like a fucking chihuahua. just yapping off with nothing of substance, and you could just like kick him like a little field goal downrange at like the 50-yard line.
He's calling for civil war. I mean, he's pretty clear about it. Now, I don't think most people would admit this on camera, but this guy did. And there's a reason why
he's an old geezer. He doesn't give a fuck.
Movement is attracting people like this, because as the Anti-Hate Network discovered, the Freedom Convoy is nothing but a vehicle for the far right. They say it is about truckers and have raised over $6 million.
Unintended. Ah, get out of here. Random fucking calls. Spam calls.
$1 million on GoFundMe, but if you look at its organizers and promoters, you'll find Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, racism, and incitements to violence, as we literally just saw there. So, look, I'll link to all my sources below the video. Always, you can read through my sources, see where I get my information from, so you
I get those goddamn spam calls, like, every, like, 3 or 4 fucking times a day. I feel like there's gonna at least be, like, 2 or 3 more times that's gonna happen.
There's a lot more information in here, obviously, but this is what this movement has become. If this wasn't initially the plan, well, that's what it is now. That's what this has now attracted. And you see this when it comes to how the media is trying to interact with them. So here you have a reporter for CBC Toronto with a screenshot here of his text messages. These are texts the Toronto contact for the truckers convoy calling itself a freedom rally sent me. After calling CBC a virus, he goes on to call me a, quote, slave-blooded traitor that will swing in time. All I asked for was an interview. So we're talking about organizers of this movement.
And Jesus Christ, like the organizers just like, you're going to behang and you're just a traitor and a slave. It's like, oh my God. I mean, this is why they're just a full-on death cult, and this is why when it comes to the mandates and honestly the quote-unquote more authoritarianistic measures of just having like my ideas of like the DART squads and just, you know, legit, you know, doing, you know, forced inoculations on shit. That's why, you know, I'm just in favor of it, because they're not going to give a fuck no matter what. Like, they're not going to see the reason. They're not going to fucking see to anything other than just, like, you know, just honestly, you know, be put to fucking heel. You know, and just be like, no. You're getting the fucking vaccine or you're going to jail, and then you're going to get it anyway. And if you actually do, you know, pick up a gun and shit, then, well, at that point, you're just kind of asking for some lethal force, you know, as, you know, defense of the fucking, you know, workers, you know, that are doing their jobs. You know, it's, you know, like knock on your goddamn door. Hence why the whole dark squad, you know, element and shit. Because, like, you know, then they can fucking evacuate before they start getting shot at. And then, you know, later that day, dark squad can just come in and just, whoop, just give them the old dart. You know, just, they, you know, at this point, you know, like, fuck their little choice and shit in this matter. They're fucking unreasonable death cult. Like, I mean, I'm not, you know, it's like, just fuck that shit.
This is how they speak. This is how they treat people. Another example, you have the Confederate flag here on one of the trucks in this convoy again, a pickup.
And it's a and they're in Canada. What, do you think the Confederacy is gonna, like, rise again in Canada or something? Like, oh my God, these fucking morons, these maroons, dude. Dude, he's fucking maple syrup sipping, like, you mix it, like maple syrup, ivermectin elixir sipping fucking Canucks, like, Jesus Christ.
A tractor trailer, again, not representing most truckers, but here you have what the convoy represents. My friend who works on Elgin just sent me this photo. Yes, that is a Confederate flag. In case you had any doubts about the intentions of this racist convoy, stay safe, friends. Now you may say, oh, but that's just one truck. One truck. If I was part of this convoy and I was driving behind this truck that's in this convoy, I would think to myself, am I in the right place? Should I really be a part of this if this is what the movement is attracting? These sorts of racist individuals, openly racist people? The Confederacy fought to keep slavery. So, like, why does it even have to... Like, Canada has, you know... We don't have anything to do with this particular, you know, movement. But here you have, very clear, he is showing you what he is about. anybody else in that movement, if this was
Pro-Confederate
actually a movement about the working class, about truckers, then they would all rally around and say, hey, take that flag down. That's disgusting. I don't support.
It's like, yeah, it's like, yep, you know, to get the work back on track, we need to get our Confederate flags out. It's like, I mean, okay, it's like, the Confederate States of America is in the fucking South. Like, it's just so stupid. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna wave this around and let it rise again here in Canada. Like, oh my god, like, what the like, it's like, well, we couldn't make it rise in America, so we're gonna try Canada this time. It's like, well, we couldn't see from the Union, so we'll see from the provinces of Canada. Like, oh my fucking god. Like, dude, it's just such a fucking joke.
Convoy. But he's part of it. They're perfectly fine. They are embracing
these fucking racist yokel chuckle fucks. Like,
now,
give me a break, dude.
Here, strong majority of
I'm supposed to be scared of these fucking, like, superior beings.
Vaccine passports. This one is from August 2021. So again, I'll link to all this below the video. You can read the data yourself. A lot of polling showing similar results here. From Angus Reid, vaccine passport or pink slip, 70% say healthcare workers, teachers, and others should be fired for refusing inoculation.
Based.
So to be clear here, it changes depending on the job. So some people say, yeah, onboard airline employees should definitely be fired at 71%. They're not vaccinated, whereas people who work for small private businesses, it's a little more divided there. But it gives you an idea that
I suppose it's a little bit more fair of an understanding to be more divided on things like that. Because I guess depending on the business, it's maybe not necessarily as big of a deal to need mandated vaccinations. Like if your small business is like doing warehousing and, you know, you're just like moving boxes around and shit. I mean, you know, you're not like directly in contact with people aside from just other workers. So, I mean, as long as everyone's masked up and it's got that shit going on, I mean, you should be okay. So it's just, I mean, well, it's not like it's a cure-all, obviously, but, you know, you're more safer, you know, obviously, especially if you get vaxxed, but, you know, it's, I guess it's an understandable, thing to be like, well, you don't necessarily need it for, you know, those type of jobs or blah, 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 and it's like, I mean, you should still, but I can see, you know, more of a division for that, at least. But these other jobs, nurses, teachers, airline, you know, stewardesses and shit like that, you know, bartenders, etc., like, yeah. So just, there isn't, you know, question in my mind with shit like that.
And vaccine mandates, depending on what your
grocery stores too
interaction level is with the public. Now, to get even more specific, 28% of Canadians support unvaccinated truckers crossing the border. So
it's not a lot.
A small fraction of Canadians support unvaccinated truckers.
That's a little over a quarter of Canadians.
Now, this is if this...
I mean, it's better than a third of Americans, so you know what? I mean, honestly, it's like Canada's a little better on this shit. I have to give them that.
It's really just about truckers and whether or not they should have a vaccine mandate. Then that, honestly, I think is more of a debate. They don't really interact with too many people. They're on the road alone often on these drives, so you know they aren't all that public facing compared to say like a doctor or you know, a police officer. So that's, I think, a little more of a debate. Now, I still support vaccine mandates. I still support vaccines, but I think that's fine. Have that conversation, have that protest, whatever. But when you are pretending to be for the vast majority of truckers, when you are pretending that this movement is simply about the vaccine mandate for truckers, when it in reality,
Canadian.
You know it's not. At least when it comes to the organizers, they know it's not. Then you're just being dishonest. So you want to have the debate about?
Nah, brother, it's just a silent majority right there, brother. I tell you what, that's a silent majority to talk right there. You know what you're talking about, brother. You don't know shit there. Oh my god. Well, at least in Canada, they're, you know, a little bit more sane than what we got going on. I like that. Yeah, it's all. Okay. Ba-da-ba-ba. There we go. Oh, I love it. The Freedom Convoy. Jesus Christ. What nightmare. This cop is knocked out. Just utterly knocked out. What's this? Biden beats Trump and DeSantis in 2024 matchup despite his low approval rating.
So I don't know how many people agreed with this sentiment, but I was kind of under the impression that even if Joe Biden defeated Donald Trump in 2020, I don't know that he'd be able to beat him again in 2024 because Joe Biden...
I mean, I agree with that sentiment.
He's not doing much. He has a
I still do, honestly.
Rating. And I think that Joe Biden was primarily able to defeat Donald Trump because of Donald Trump's catastrophic response to COVID-19. So, you know, I've always kind of had this assumption in the back of my mind that in the event the election were held again, Trump would probably prevail. Now let's look at
still
Biden's
could,
approval
honestly.
ratings here. So this is from 538. So his overall approval rating on average is 41.7%, and his disapproval rating sits at 53.3%, which is bad. A majority of the country disapproves of Joe Biden. Now, some polls even have his approval rating in the high 30s, although these do appear to be outliers. But the reason why I'm showing you this is because despite his bad approval rating, he would still beat Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis if the election were held today. This hypothetical matchup that we're about to read is truly shocking to me, not expected at all. But still, I mean, 2024 is ways away. A lot can change, but just for...
Yeah, honestly, yeah, that's kind of the caveat to this whole thing, which is why I don't necessarily buy it. It's like, yeah, maybe today, but that could change tomorrow, and that can change next week, and that could change next year, and so on and so forth. Like, I mean, honestly, it's like, oh, you know, it's like, hypothetically, Biden could stand a chance against Trump or DeSantis. Like, well, hypothetically, he doesn't. It's just like, I mean, honestly, as far as I'm concerned, it don't really mean shit. But I'm willing to hear it.
It actually had me pretty surprised. I'm not going to lie. So Michael Schnell of The Hill explains, President Biden is leading former President Trump and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in two hypothetical head-to-head matchups for the 2024 presidential election, according to a new poll. The survey conducted by Marquette Law School found that 43% of adults nationwide would support Biden if the 2024 presidential election were held today, while 33% would vote for Trump in a one-on-one matchup. 16% said they would choose a different candidate, while 6% said they would not vote. In a hypothetical race against DeSantis, however, Biden polls slightly worse. 41% of adults nationwide said they would throw their support behind Biden, while 33% would support DeSantis. 18% of respondents said they would vote for a different candidate, and 8% said they would not cast a ballot. Only 29% of those polled said they want to see Trump run for president again in 2024, while 71% said they did not want to see him seek a second term. So in other words, as unpopular as Joe Biden is, voters would still opt for him over a second Trump term. This is very surprising to me.
Which is honestly, I think, why, you know, DeSantis seems a little bit more of a threat at this point. Like, he has a lot more of a chance in comparison to Trump.
I think the electorate is still turned off to Donald Trump.
I mean, Trump's even, you know, have his own base turned against him.
This is from Politico and the Morning Consult. The results aren't as favorable to Joe Biden as the last poll that we just looked at from Marquette Law School, but it still yields some additional insight into the phenomenon that I think is happening here. So, looking at this poll, Biden would still beat Pence, DeSantis, and Cruz, and he would still beat Donald Trump, but much more narrowly, by only 1 point. Now, the reason why this is so fascinating is because 46% of voters would back a generic Republican over Biden, 46% to 37%. So the problem very obviously seems to be Donald Trump and any politicians who are aligned with Donald Trump or Trumpian in nature. Now, again, this can change because it's still early. Perhaps by 2023, 2024, Americans kind of forget about Donald Trump if he goes away, which is unlikely because it's Donald Trump and he wants attention. But
I mean, honestly, like, likelihood is if he fails in, the primaries and, like, let's say DeSantis is nominating shit, I mean, they'll just coalesce around him because he's a lot more palpable towards, moderate GOP shit on top of the more Trumpian level Republican shit as well. So there's like a little mixture of both of these things that, can play to DeSantis' benefit. Which is why I think, honestly, he has a little bit more better of a chance. Because if, like, because, like, if the election was held today, or tomorrow, then it's like, Biden might fare better, but at the end of the day, that doesn't really mean shit. Like, the elections are when the elections are. And, that can change, tomorrow, next week, or, at any point, in any different direction, up until election day.
Figures are toxic still. That's shocking to me. That's pretty surprising. Look, they, I think, make up a majority of the Republican Party. I think that a lot of Republicans, elected GOP officials, probably don't agree with Donald Trump, but they just kind of say what they feel as if they need to say to appease the base. But still, I mean, when you look at polls, the GOP base, one poll that just came out, I can't remember who conducted it, Trump was sitting at 57% as of right now when it comes to the upcoming GOP primary. And DeSantis and Pence tied in second place at 11%. So Trump is still very much the face and the leader of the modern day Republican Party.
Oh yeah.
That's why a lot of elected GOP officials have to pay fealty to him. But still, to the overall broader electorate, he is toxic, and anyone associated with him who tried to emulate his style is also toxic. So toxic that they'd opt for Joe Biden again, even if they don't like Joe Biden, because more voters, at least according to this poll by the Morning Consult and Politico, they prefer a generic Republican. They'll take a Republican over Biden, but not if it...
I mean, honestly, it's just because the generic Republican is basically Biden, but not dementia-addled. Like, I mean, because Biden hasn't really done much, circumstances that are different, because, he's Joe, nothing will fundamentally change Biden. Like, nothing has. In fact, there's been, like, a 70% increase when it comes to, like, deportation and captives and shit, in the fucking, ICE detention facilities or, at their fucking camps. So it's like all these different things, are still going on, and it's still happening and shit. So he's basically just a fucking Republican, a moderate one, and yet, that's why people would probably fare more like, just take a moderate Republican because it's more of a just like socially conservative, competent version of this, I guess. It's like, ew, but makes sense. Considering how right
and it's close still,
this country is.
1 point ahead of Trump, that's within the margin of error. But still, Trump and his brand are very toxic. I think that the main reason why voters are still turned off to Donald Trump is because of the big lie. Look, Americans, by and large, believe in democracy. Maybe they've lost faith in democracy. Maybe they don't think that our democracy is perfect, and perhaps we have to keep expanding democracy, consolidating democracy, expanding suffrage. But most of us support democracy, and most Americans are astute enough to recognize that Donald Trump's big lie absolutely hurts democracy. I think that that's obvious. So in the event Trump reversed course and he just stopped talking about
a lot of that's just because it's basically just like, hey, a democratic process happened, I don't like it, so I want to revert democratic process. I mean, it's kind of obvious that it was just straight up, as much of a yokel chuck of fuck, event it was. I mean, being like a full-on, like, coup d'etat that was attempted by a bunch of fucking, like, far-right deaf cultist fascists. I mean, it's like, can't beat around Bush from that shit.
And said, okay, I found evidence to the contrary, I was wrong. If he just was a little bit more humble for once, I don't know if that would reverse this trend. Again, this trend might just reverse by itself because we're so far out from the 2024 election. But this is really interesting to me. I mean, the big lie hurt Donald Trump. It hurt democracy, but it also hurt Donald Trump. And he can't let it go. His ego won't allow him to acknowledge that he lost fair and square to sleepy Joe Biden. Sorry, bud, you were just that fucking bad. You handled COVID-19.
Hey, Jack, no malarkey. You think I'm a, Sleepy Joe? Well, I'll show you some sleepy. I'm gonna take you down to the gym and knock you right the fuck out, I tell you what. No malarkey.
terrible way.
I mean,
And
I
look,
guess he did.
Biden is
so.
handling COVID-19horribly now. He is. He's doing basically nothing. He's letting it wash over the country as
I mean, if anything, he's just doing exactly what Donald Trump did when it comes to COVID now at this point. Like, he just doesn't give a fuck. Like, the economy and economists and profits matter more than the actual fucking well-being of people and shit when it comes to this fucking pandemic, so who cares? That's what they think.
with Joe Biden, rightfully so, but they're still not willing to opt for Trump over Joe Biden again. They still don't want to go back to the Trump era and all of the instability that that brought into our political system. That's not like everything is peachy keen with Joe Biden, but Trump was just so bombastic, so aggressive, so unnecessarily vitriolic that Americans are still just not wanting to go back to that. Again, this might change between now and 2024, but the GOP primary is going to be interesting because you are maybe going to see a kind of civil war in the GOP. I think that it's already happening, and I think that Trump has already won that civil war, but you're going to see members kind of make a case against Donald Trump's electability if nothing changes. Somebody's going to try to be the anti-Trump, but I mean, that's going to be tough because if you're the
Or like a more evolved, like a Pokemon type of Trump.
The GOP base wants Donald Trump, but that is in conflict with the broader American population. So, really interesting. Surprising. Didn't expect Joe Biden to have even a chance, given how bad he's doing and how bad his approval rating is. But apparently, he's not doing bad enough for Americans to just want Trump back. This is all fascinating to me. So again, really early. So
honestly, I think it's just because America's bar is just so fucking low. But I mean, at the same time, it doesn't really tell me too much. It's like it could really go either way. But I am honestly, you know, more inclined to think that, you know, DeSantis especially would probably have a lot more of a possibility of fucking making success on that versus fucking Biden when it comes to winning elections. But I'd like to be proven wrong. I hope so. And honestly, I'd like to see how have, like, you know, the curveball on the fucking, you know, sideline of, like, you know, potentially a more lefty-ish candidate. But no, probably not. Alright, what time is it? 2:40? I'll watch one more little thing. Marjorie Taylor Greene's constituents chew her out. She doesn't know how to react. What? Okay. This looks juicier than shit. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene appeared on a cable TV show in Georgia, and in this particular episode, Georgians had the opportunity to actually call in and express the way that they feel about how Marjorie Greene has been representing the state of Georgia. And as you're going to see, they gave her an earful and she didn't know what to do. So she basically just sat there and smiled awkwardly. This was incredibly entertaining and satisfying to watch. So I've got a clip to show you of one of the constituents just torching her the entire time. But first, I do want to read you this really brief summary from People magazine that kind of tells you how the entire episode went for her. So polarizing Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene faced criticism from some of her own constituents during a Wednesday radio and cable TV appearance when a caller to the program deemed her an embarrassment to the state of Georgia. While the Republican lawmaker was participating.
I mean, she's just an embarrassment to existence and life as we know it. Like, the fact that life was able to congeal and amalgamate, you know, and form into this is, I think it's kind of an insult to life itself in biology and its functions and structures of how it works.
Among the listeners who called into the program was one who was no fan of 47-year-old.
Like, she's an embarrassment to the cosmic universe.
Thank God for Joe Biden, one caller said, adding that they felt Greene was an embarrassment to the state of Georgia. So for them to call in and say thank God for Joe Biden, they're just purposefully trying to trigger her. You know, it used to be conservatives triggering the libs. but conservatives are so fragile now that we have liberals trying to trigger conservatives. This is the totality of American politics, by the way, for those of you who don't live in this country. But to have some...
The fuck was that? What the fuck? There's a little bzzz.
I'm joking.
That was wacky.
But to have somebody call in and say that she's an embarrassment, that's just glorious. Now, I couldn't find all of these examples that they were giving in People magazine. I don't think that the clip is posted online, but I did find one clip in particular that was absolutely amazing, because she was just getting basically chewed out for, I think it's like over a minute. I love this. Take a look.
We accepted Trump for 4 years. You all refused to accept Biden. You refused to do it. And maybe we didn't like Trump, but he won, and so that was it. You all are not, you will not accept the fact that Joe Biden won. And that is the whole thing. You're not going to accept it. You're going to keep on and just peck. And you won't get anything done. If you're not going to respect the man and realize that he's the president, you're not ever going to get anything done. You've got to work together. And you are not doing it. You're not doing it. And neither of the other Republicans. They're just going with Trump. No, he didn't win it. He didn't win it. And wasted all the money in Georgia to have to count the votes 3 times because he said he won and he didn't.
That was so good. So I'm picturing this little old lady just chewing out Marjorie Greene.
Damn, this old little lady, like this like random little auntie grandma was just like, you all couldn't accept the fact that orange bastard lost. You just can't do it. How dare you? Shame on you. You just can't accept it. It's like, a lot of us just didn't necessarily like him, and, a lot of us don't like Biden either, but, you just can't accept it. It is what was there. I love it.
Had nothing to say.
She just kind of sat there and took it.
She's just smiling. Oh. And she's just...
fuming, seething, dude.
But she just awkwardly kept smiling.
Yeah, I love it.
You love to see it. Because this individual really is just, she represents the worst of the Republican Party, and I don't want to make it seem like there are any good elected GOP officials, because there are none. But she just speaks to how far to the right the GOP has shifted to where they're just in straight up delusional authoritarian territory. And to see her own constituents rip her a new asshole and all she could do is sit there and listen and smile, that is poetic justice right there. That's brilliant. I mean, honestly, real justice.
She definitely deserves it. She needs to just like Marjorie definitely, sitting there and having to just take it is just amazing. There needs to be more of that type of shit. Honestly, I hope more clips of that come out, because holy shit, that is just amazing. Utterly just amazing. Oh my god. Is there any more clips? Nah. I guess that was the only one, huh? Well, oh man, I really do hope there is more when it comes to that shit. That is just beautiful. But anyway. Smoke his last little bowl, see what my buddy's up to, and head off to work and all that fun shit. Anyway, of course I'll be on for that next one when I come back later off shift, so peace out and see everybody in that next one when I return, so